Welcome to the Love Chronicles. I'm your host, Randy Love. And on today's show, we have Dr. Rita Copeland, who is a licensed psychologist out of California. She is also a founding member of No Black Girl Left Behind, which was formed alongside Dr. Alixis Rhodes and Ashleigh Iiams. Dr. Rita Copeland, thank you for coming on to the Love Chronicles. It is a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you. So tell my listeners a little bit more about No Black Girl Left Behind, how it was formed, what exactly you guys aim to do.
So yes, the organization No Black Girl Left Behind was founded in 2016 by myself, Dr. Rhodes, and Ashleigh Iiams. We were in our doctoral program, and we felt like we were overwhelmed with what was going on in school and just personalized and everything like that. And we just felt like we didn't have enough support and nobody really understood what we were going through. So we decided to create, we just started doing brunches and meeting up with other women because we're like, well, we can't be the only people feeling like this. So we started to have brunch, and we got a big turnout, and then everybody kind of loved the idea. And then that's how we kind of coined the term No Black Girl Left Behind, and actually started to run more events. And then we kind of created a program for ambassadors to help us run events throughout the cities, because Dr. Rhodes and I and Ashleigh, we all like to travel. So we were like, well, we can't be everywhere at one time. So that's why we created that ambassador program. And so right now we have ambassadors in Chicago, Atlanta, Pennsylvania, the DMV, and South Carolina, and California.
Okay, nice. And I see you did your doctoral degree at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology in Irvine.
Yes.
That's in California for people that don't know. So did all of you go to that school at the time, or are you all in different areas, or are you all in the same doctoral program?
No, this is when we were all in the same doctoral program. So we were in between. We have a lot of campuses in LA. In California. So it was between the LA campus and the Irvine campus. We were taking classes. So that's how we met each. Well, that's how we met each other in school. So Dr. Rhodes and I actually go back to our master's program. We met in 2011. We did our master's program in Washington, D.C. together. And then when we came to California together and started our doctorate program. And then that's when we met Ashleigh.
Okay. And you said this started in 2016. What do you guys see yourself doing in the next 5 years? That'll be your 10 years at that point. Where do you see the organization growing by then?
So by then, we hope to be a nonprofit, a full nonprofit, and we also hope to add on a mentoring program for children. So right now, we just do events for adults. We do events like yoga events. So we call it Namaste and networking. We do cooking classes. One of our ambassadors is a chef. So with this pandemic, we started last year in April with these virtual cooking classes, and it's been a great turnout. So actually, you would think that the pandemic hindered us, and it really didn't. It kind of helped us. So like I said, we had those ambassadors in these 6 different cities, maybe 7 now because we added Atlanta. So in these 7 different cities, we have these ambassadors. And before, we would just have this monthly conference call and talk about what events we're going to have. And we would try to fly out to the event if we could. If we couldn't, we would make sure that the ambassador is prepared for the event and support them the best way we can. And they'll host whatever events, like I said, the yogas, the brunches, the paint and sips, and things like that. But then when this pandemic hit, we're like, oh, well, we can go online. And then it helped bring the organization us together more. So we were used to do just regular conference calls, and now we're doing Zoom calls, and we get to see each other now once a month, right? And that was so much better. And then now we get a bigger audience via online because we all can be there at one time, all the ambassadors from each city and all the founders on this Zoom call hosting an event. So our first virtual event was a game night, and it was I want to say 10 to 15 women, and it lasted 3 hours. It was so amazing.
That sounds awesome.
It was so amazing. And then because it is the pandemic and because we are psychologists, we started to do this Black Women's Peace discussion. And we've had 3 versions of it already. And it's just like inviting women to come onto the Zoom call and express what they're going through this pandemic. And we're just providing them a safe space to just be open and honest about what's going on. And we're just being there to support them. And like I said, we also had that cooking class. We had like 2 of those already. And we've done like 2 yoga events virtually. So we're actually like doing really good with this online stuff. It hasn't really stopped us from being able to support other Black women. And yeah.
Awesome. And so since the online has been helping so much, because we all know this pandemic can be a whole nother level of stress, but it has been beneficial. Do you guys plan to kind of continue doing the online once everything does open back up?
So we'll probably do like a blended type of thing, because we do find them very helpful. Like I said, as a team, like we're all able to be at these events together because it's online and nobody has to fly anywhere. So I think we will continue to do virtual and then in person events. But yes, we cannot wait to be in person again because those events were awesome too.
I can imagine. It's a whole different vibe when it's online, but having the ability to still meet online and it be a little more convenient is great. But like that in-person energy, that's a whole different thing.
Yes, it really is. And it's much needed with this pandemic. So we cannot wait. We really cannot wait. And so both of Dr. Rhodes and I were both in California. So we'll probably, if our first back like in-person meeting will probably be in California. And we'll probably do like one of our brunches because that's what we started off doing was brunch and kind of like branched out to do all the other types of events that we're doing now.
And you said that there's a chef and so the various different women that are ambassadors within the organization are across different fields, correct?
Yes, these are just women who joined our events maybe, or they've seen our flyers or something like that, or they found our Facebook or Instagram page and they just contacted us and said, "We love what you're doing. I want to be a part. How do I become a part?" And that's like we don't know these. A lot of them we don't know. They're just like random females that just like loved our mission and loved what we were about and just wanted to be a part of the whole goal that we're trying to accomplish. And so yeah, we have a chef, we have other people that's in the mental health field, we have entrepreneurs, we have like a life coach and coaches. Like there's a lot of different women in field like that's in different fields in our organization.
I love that. I love that. So now you have your degrees in psychology. You're also a professor, correct?
Yes.
So tell me kind of what led you into psychology, like why that field?
So if you ask my mom like why did I get into the field, she'll tell you this story that when I was like 4 or 5 years old, I asked her like, "Mommy, like why do people do?" So if you leave it to my mom, like this was like destined for me to be a psychologist. So I don't recall that, but I believe her, right? So I just remember me growing up, I always wanted to be like a teacher, and then like it went to me wanting to be like in like a nurse, and then I tried nursing, and that didn't really work out. So I always knew I wanted to be in the helping profession, and so in undergrad I took my psychology classes and made that my major, and then I kind of just like went with it. But even like my freshman year, like in one of my classes, they had us do like your 5-year goal, your 10-year goal, and like recently I just found that paper that I wrote. And my 10-year goal was to be a doctor. And I don't even remember writing that back in 2007 when I first entered undergrad. And then so here I am, like 10 years later, 11 years later, I'm a doctor. So from what my mom said, it was written in my plan. This is what I was meant to do.
I mean, it sounds like it, especially if you even wrote something similar to that 10, 11 years ago and don't, well, it's more than that at this point,
Right.
2007, but 15-ish almost years ago, like I don't remember what I wrote when I started my undergrad. And I know it was definitely not this,
Right.
but we're in the same kind of boat. Like I started my undergrad in 2008.
Okay.
So we're about the same. And all I knew was that I wanted to be able to help people and spread the word and do stuff that would empower and encourage folks. So I started in nursing and same like you, and it didn't work out.
Mm.
And then I was in a Soch program. So I have my undergrad in Soch.
Okay.
And then I realized I'm a little emotional, and that wasn't it either. But all the skills that I learned were very beneficial in where I am today. So I do take all those to heart, and I do find that it helps me communicate with others well. And that's kind of how I guess I got to where I am today. So I feel you on that. Like, it's just certain things that you're gonna, like, it doesn't even make sense, but you end up doing something, and it was something you thought you was gonna do anyway. I mean, it's very interesting how life works. You have a
It
spell.
really is. And then so I chose my major to be psychology. And even with that, like, okay, I wrote that on a paper because that was an assignment, but I didn't have that all planned out. I didn't know that that's what was going to happen. Like, that was just like an idea, right? And I don't have a lot of people in my family that went to college, so it wasn't something that I knew exactly how to become a doctor either, right? At that point in my freshman year, it's like a goal. Like, it was just a goal in mind that my professional development teacher told us to write about, and that's what I put on the paper. And then so after I graduated from undergrad, I went and got my master's in forensic psychology because I've always been interested in like criminal justice and the law. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that I can combine the two. So when I found this program that combined the two, I was like, oh, that is amazing. That's what I want to do. And then so I got into that. And so I did everything separately. So as a psychologist, you can go from undergrad straight into a doctoral program, or you could do it the long way like I did. So I did my bachelor's in psychology. Then I went and got my master's in forensic psychology. And then I went and got my doctorate in clinical psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like this broad range of psychology now. But yeah, but when I started off, I didn't know exactly where I was going to go and where it was going to take me. And like now, I'm currently working in the forensic aspect of it. Even though I have a clinical psychology doctorate degree, I'm still forensic based. I love forensic psychology. So like right now, I work full time at a male's prison in the state of California, and I also teach doctorate students psychology.
So you said you wanted to be a teacher. That was kind of the thought process, and so then you have your doctorate, allowing you to have that doctoral aim, and you are also working at a male prison, which is interesting if you think about it, because how often do you see women working in psychology in a male prison? It's not common. How did that come about? Like, was that somewhere you aim to go? Like, I see it's like you specialize with, it's a sex offenders, correct?
So yes, okay. Like fortunately, when I was doing my internships and stuff, like I don't even know why or how. Like I would really have to think about it. But like I started to get interested in the like criminology part in undergrad, and so I had a minor in forensic biology, and that's when I started to learn about like crime scene investigations and blood splatters and things like that. And that's what like pushed me more into the forensic psychology realm. And so uh, even in my bachelor's degree, I did an internship with probation. And so because I was only an undergrad, they only allowed me to like sit in on the like office visits with the parolees and the probationers. But that was a good insight for me. And then when I did my master's program, it required me to do an internship, and I was in the state of I was in Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And I did my internship at CSOSA, which was the probation and parole for Washington D.C. And then when I moved out to California and did my doctorate and had to do my practicums and my internships here in California, I stayed with the criminal justice system, and I started to work with sex offenders. And then in the state of California, you have to get certified to work with sex offenders. So I am certified to work with sex offenders. So I did that for 5 years before going inside of the prison. So I've done outpatient work, I've done residential work, I've done like working in psych hospitals, and now I'm in the prison system.
That is great. That is great. And I find it like, I don't know if you saw me smiling, but in my undergrad, I did criminology classes in my social program. And it's something I wanted to do. I wanted to go into forensic sociology, but I ended up not doing that. And I just find it interesting. Like, as you were talking, I was like, that's weird. We had a
Yeah.
similar like thought process in a whole different. I'm from California. You're from Jersey, right? So we're on the whole other side of the country, but it's crazy how you find people and be like, oh, I was thinking something like that too. You did it though. I didn't.
I mean, you still time if you want to though. You still can do it. But I know you did ask something about females in the prison. So I don't know if where I'm at is a good judgment of females in the psychology realm. Well, okay, as far as my program is more female based.
Mm-hmm.
I think that has changed over the years, because if you look at it, look at history, and I'm used to seeing older Caucasian males as therapists and doctors,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's changing, because all my classes from undergrad to my master's to my bachelor was heavily female based.
I like that.
And being in California, yeah, me too. And even in being female, there was a lot of Black females too, which is a good thing. But so I right now work in a male's prison in the middle of nowhere in Central California. So that might not be a good, females and Black females in the prison, because literally in my prison, it's me, and I want to say maybe just me now, because Dr. Rhodes was working with me at the prison, no longer working there. So it was us two female psychologists. Actually, so when we first started, it was three of us, three female Black psychologists in the prison that I work in. And now it's just me, one female Black psychologist. But more recently, we have two Black male psychologists.
Okay. So it's
Yeah.
just a come up in African Americans, period. Because having Black people working in fields across the board is what we're trying to aim to do. Especially Black women, because it's always harder for Black women to get into something than Black men, even though that sounds crazy. But that's good. It's good to have you and Dr. Rhodes were there, and she's somewhere else now. But even to have two other Black men there is still empowering, because even Black men, they only see themselves typically because of society going into sports or down the path of drugs, I can only be an athlete, or I got to go sell dope on the corner, and that's not true. So that is good to see them there as well. Let's go back to No Black Girl Left Behind. So you guys have people that reach out to you. Do you also plan on reaching out to other people as well, seeing different people in different fields that you guys kind of want to bring on, or want to see if they're interested in bringing on, so you guys have another representation within the organization?
So yeah, we're open to anybody joining the organization. We kind of have a process of how we have people join the organization, but anybody, we welcome anybody, even if you're not Black. So we're not, just because we're No Black Girl Left Behind doesn't mean that we just only Black people can join our organization. The only thing is that if it is a different person of a different culture, they have to know that our values is for Black culture. We support Black businesses and everything Black. That's what we do. So for instance, when we have our brunches, we try to make sure that we have it at a Black establishment. When we have our events and we have people host our events for us, we try to support Black people. So when I mentioned the yoga events, we've had a Black male yoga instructor. We've had several Black female yoga instructors. We always try to make sure that we're supporting other Black people. And so whoever joins the organization has to be on board with that and understand that.
And it's is it mostly obviously No Black Girl Left Behind. Are there any men in the organization?
So no, there's no men in the organization. So the whole thing with it, so I was telling you that it was because we were overwhelmed and we felt like we weren't supported, but we were also tired of seeing Black women tear each other down. And so that was another reason why we started the organization, to show that there are positive Black women out here trying to do their thing and support other people and not tear people down. So that was another reason why we created the organization. Because we that's growing up, this was always drama. I don't know what you experienced in high school and things like that, but
drama.
Us women, we had that stereotype of being catty and things like that. We're always somebody's jealous of somebody, and it's just nobody wants to see somebody be great. And just we didn't like that. That's not me. That's not how I was raised. That's not how I roll. That's not how Dr. Rhodes rolls. So that's why we was no. There's people out here that want to see each other support each other, want to be supported, want to help others, want to be there, part of other people's successes, and just support them. So we create that safe space for women, Black women, to come together and have that connection.
I like that, because yes, like you said, especially during high school times, I'm it goes across the board, no matter how old you are. High school is tough for Black girls because, like, it's just this automatic sense, like, you got to be catty and better than everybody else. I remember reading Michelle Obama's book and her talking about when she was growing up in Chicago and how she had just catty people coming at her when she was in school. And it was just like, why? Why do you want to behave like that? Why you don't want to see other people be great? So I'm glad that the organization is designed for that purpose in mind.
Yes, I don't understand it either. So that's why we do like a little, I guess you can call it like an intake thing when we get our ambassadors, just to make sure that their goals are aligned with ours and that they'll be their best selves and help us spread our goal, like our mission.
Good. And you said you also teach. So tell me a little bit about that. What do you teach in your doctoral
Psychology.
students? So what are you teaching?
I could potentially teach any psychology class course. Right now, like this semester, I'm teaching, and because we're in a pandemic, everything is via Zoom. So I'm teaching a diversity class, and I'm teaching a substance abuse class at this time.
Okay. And why substance abuse?
So it's a substance abuse is mental health. It's still part of the mental health system. So um, it's just part of one of the requirements for the degree.
Okay.
But yeah, but being a professor, I can teach any class in psychology or related to psychology.
And I mentioned earlier, I had brought up that professor at Columbia University, Dr. Carl Hart. He's the head of their psych department there. And he wrote a book about his life and about drug use and the stigma surrounding it. And because you brought up that you teach a substance abuse course, I was just curious if you had any thoughts on his book and him talking about being a heroin addict and this being his 5th year as a heroin addict and using it medicinally to help him balance work and life, saying that he has no issues teaching, he has no issues with his family, they know about it, they support him. Like I see so many problems there, but I don't know, maybe I'm judging. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So I'm not. You introduced me to that. I'm not familiar with his book or anything that I don't even know who he is. But honestly, to each its own. And even though he may be a doctor, we're still human. So everybody has their problems. Do I agree with him using the drugs medicinally? Not necessarily, but like I said, to each its own. But it might still be a teaching, like a learning experience from whoever reads his book. They might gain something from it. Um, I'm not really sure. Like I would actually have to like read his book and see where he went at in that book, and to read things about him to see what his goal is. What is he trying to accomplish by letting people know that he uses drugs actively now and still is working in the field and things like that. Like I haven't read anything about him, so I don't really know. But yeah, I mean, but like I said, we're all human. Like me, even me as a psychologist, I have issues too. Like I'm human. I feel like everybody should have a therapist. I personally have a therapist, so I think I think we all need help at some time in our lives. Like we might not. So the DSM-5 is like this our Bible in psychology. That's how we diagnose people. So everybody might meet criteria for certain things in the DSM, but they might not meet full criteria to say like, oh, you have major depression or you have generalized anxiety disorder. But the whole entire world at some time in life has experienced forms of depression, forms of anxiety, substance abuse issues. So I feel like we all need that person that we can talk to, that's non-judgmental, to just help us work through our problem.
True. I was just curious on your thoughts regarding that. I just find it a little problematic the way it was presented. It didn't seem very positive to me. It sounded like, oh, you could be a drug addict and do as you please. And I don't know. We know that in Black society that there's been so many problems surrounding drug usage. and it bringing people down, and to each their own, like you said, but to promote it like it is a normal, okay thing seemed kind of wrong. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, the way that you're describing it to me, like I would not have necessarily, I don't necessarily agree with the way that he's portraying it as well, because that's kind of like people who call themselves like functional alcoholics or something like that. Like, oh, well, I still can go to work and I can still do this. That's fine, but when are you going to admit that you do have a problem? There's a problem there. You're trying to hide something, you're trying to cover up something. When are you going to work on whatever you're trying to hide and cover up?
Exactly.
Like, I'm glad that you're functional. I'm glad that you're able to still go to work and take care of your kids and take care of yourself and live your best life. That's amazing. But there's some hurt and pain that you're trying to cover up. When are you going to work on that?
Exactly. That is nail on the head right there. But thank you for coming on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me. This is amazing.
You are welcome to come back anytime if you so choose. It was great. This is Randy Love, and you're listening to Season 1 of the Love Chronicles. Laters, y'all.